You know, we like to think that some things are just universal, right? How we see time, how we think, what it means to be smart. But what if I told you that the very wiring in your brain for these basic ideas has been completely customized by the culture you grew up in?
Okay, just picture this. Your boss is staring at you absolutely furious and asks you that exact question. Well, for a French manager named Guillaume Gevray working in India, this wasn't some thought experiment. This was real. And that one angry question was about to cost him his job.
Because it did. He actually lost his job over something that seemed like a minor scheduling conflict. So in this explainer, we're going to peel back the layers and look at the invisible cultural software that caused this entire career to just crash.
So let's get into what actually happened. Gayfrey had this weekly team meeting, right? Every week, 3 to 4 p.m. And on this day, he scheduled a vendor to meet him right at 4. Well, the team meeting runs a little long, and at 3:55, he politely excuses himself so he can be on time for his next appointment. To him, that's just being professional. But to his boss, it was a massive sign of disrespect. And this is really the heart of the conflict. See, Gevry was running on what we call linear time. It's this idea, common in the West, that time is a limited resource. You can save it, you can waste it, you manage it. His boss, on the other hand, was operating on cyclical time, a concept with roots in Hindu tradition, where time is this infinite repeating loop. The most important thing isn't sticking to a schedule, it's nurturing the relationship that's right in front of you. So Gevry put the task first. His boss put the team first. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. This whole clash over a meeting, it goes so much deeper than just scheduling. It's actually a symptom of a fundamental split in how different cultures process reality itself. Psychologists have a name for this. It's analytic versus holistic perception. Think of it this way. People in many Western cultures tend to be analytic thinkers. When they look at a scene, they zoom in on the main objects, the individual parts. But people from many East Asian cultures tend to be holistic thinkers. They see the big picture first, the context, the environment, and how everything is connected. Want to see how this actually plays out in the real world? There's a classic study where researchers showed American and Japanese participants a short animation of fish in an underwater scene, and it just asked them a simple question. What did you see? And the results? They were just incredibly different. The American participants, the analytic thinkers, they zeroed in on the main thing. I saw 3 big fish swimming to the left. But the Japanese participants, the holistic thinkers, they described the whole scene first. It looked like a pond. The water was green, there were plants, and a frog. Oh, and there were fish in it. It's the same image, but they're seeing 2 totally different worlds.
And this all plugs directly into these bigger cultural frameworks we hear about. Analytic thinking is really common in individualistic cultures, where the focus is on being unique and self-reliant. Holistic thinking fits right in with collectivist cultures, where your identity is all about your role in the group and maintaining harmony. It literally changes everything, from how you see success to the way you talk to people.
Okay, so if culture shapes what we physically see and how our brains process information, then it's got to shape something we hold really dear, right? The very idea of intelligence. What does it actually mean to be smart? Well, as it turns out, the answer completely depends on where you are in the world when you ask.
Here in the West, we often think smart means being quick, a fast problem solver. But if you're in a culture with a Confucian background, being smart is more about being a good, humble person who does the right thing. In parts of Zambia, it includes being cooperative and respectful. And in Zimbabwe, a huge part of intelligence is being careful and cautious, especially with people. The definition itself is cultural. Okay, so this creates a huge problem, right? If there's no single universal definition of intelligence, how can any one test, like a standard IQ test, claim to measure it for everyone, everywhere, fairly? So how about we try a little experiment? I'm going to give you a question from a real intelligence test. See how you do. Ready?
All right, here it is. This question actually comes from something called the Chitling test, which was created back in the 70s by a sociologist named Adrian Dove. He designed it to prove just how biased standardized tests can be. So what do you think? Lock in your answer.
The correct answer is C, 24 hours. And that is the entire point. Unless you grew up in the specific African-American community where preparing chitlins this way is common knowledge, this question has nothing to do with your reasoning skills. It's testing your cultural background. That, right there, is cultural bias.
Let's try one more, just for fun. This one is from a test developed for the Kuku Yalanji community in Australia. So, picture this. You're out in the bush, you're hungry, you've got a rifle, you see these three animals. Which one do you shoot for dinner?
The correct, or intelligent, answer is the small female wallaby. Now, why on earth is that? Well, because in that specific culture, there are incredibly complex social rules about who can eat what. Emu is reserved for the elders. Large kangaroos are forbidden for parents. It's not logic you can figure out on the spot. It's deep cultural knowledge. It just goes to show you common sense is almost never common.
So, where does all of this leave us? What's the big takeaway here? It's that our minds are not just some universal piece of hardware that's the same for everyone. No, they're running this incredibly powerful and usually invisible cultural software that literally shapes how we see the world.
Think about it. We went from Guillaume Givray losing his job over a meeting, to how we describe fish in a tank, to a test about cooking chitlins, and it's all the same story. The way we experience time, the way we see the world, the way we define what's smart, these aren't universal truths. They are products of our culture.
And that really brings us to the final most important question. If something as basic as time isn't universal, if intelligence isn't universal, what other obvious truths in your life are just a product of your own cultural software? What else do we all just assume is universal, but really isn't?